deals. The last line read, "If I don't make it back, tell someone who can change it all." Hale's breath caught. "And you think the president needs to hear this?" Isa nodded slowly. "I know he does. Because the man Everett was investigating, he's here today." That night, the president's visit dominated the news, but the spotlight wasn't on his speech. It was on Commander Isla Vance. Her silent stand sparked a media firestorm, with headlines dissecting her refusal to salute and social media erupting in debate. But Isa didn't care. Alone in her cabin, she held a worn envelope, Everett's last letter. The ink had faded, but his message burned clear. "They've made me part of something ugly. Isa, this goes beyond the mission. It's American. Weapons in the hands of those we swore to stop. There's a name, Brown Kane." Isa's chest tightened. Brown Kane, billionaire contractor, war profiteer, had walked behind Trump that morning as part of the delegation. The memory of receiving Everett's things crashed over her again. No ceremony, just a folded flag, and that letter, hidden in a boot. Official cause, Kia by enemy fire. But Everett's words told a different story. He died protecting a truth no one wanted to hear, and Isa wasn't going to let him be forgotten. A knock interrupted her thoughts. Ensign Jordan Tate stood at the door, nervous. "Commander, the president wants to meet with you, privately." Her pulse quickened. "Then let's finish what Everett started." In a secure briefing room, Trump sat at the head of the table, flanked by aides. Isa entered in full uniform. Trump gestured for privacy. The room emptied. "Commander Vance," he began, "I've never been refused a salute before. I don't take offense, but I want to understand." She placed the envelope on the table. "My brother wrote this before he died." Then she told him everything. The mission, the inconsistencies, the name Brown Kane. Trump read in silence, his expression darkening. "I had no idea," he finally said. "Brown's been a major donor, supposedly clean." Isa met his eyes. "He's not. And Everett died trying to prove it." "Sir, I'm not asking for a headline. I'm asking for justice." That night, headlines swarmed with the image of Commander Isla Vance refusing to salute President Trump, sparking a storm of opinions across the country. But Isa stayed silent, alone in her cabin, clutching the worn envelope that held her brother Everett's final letter. The ink had faded, but his words were clear. "They've made me part of something ugly, Isa. This goes beyond the mission. It's American weapons going to enemies. Look into Brown Kane." That name, a billionaire contractor and war profiteer, had walked the deck earlier, right behind Trump. Isa remembered the day Everett's belongings were returned. No ceremony, no answers, just a folded flag and a hidden letter. The official report said Kia by enemy fire, but Everett's truth told another story. When a knock came at her door, Ensign Tate stood there nervously. "The president wants to see you in private." Isa nodded. "Then let's finish what Everett started." In the secure briefing room, Trump dismissed his aides and sat down, studying her. "Commander, I've never been refused a salute before," he said. "I don't take offense, but I want to understand." Isa placed the envelope in front of him. "This is what my brother died for." She told him everything, the weapons, the contractor, the cover-up. Trump read the letter, his expression darkening. "I had no idea," he murmured. "Been a major donor." Isa didn't flinch. "Sir, I'm not asking for a headline. I'm asking for justice." That night, alone again, she decrypted the USB Everett had hidden in the envelope and found one audio clip. "Operation Fire Trail is compromised. Brown Kane is behind it. If I disappear, you'll know why." It wasn't enough yet, but it was a start. Then an encrypted message flashed on her screen. "Tomorrow, 200 hours, cargo hold, come alone, DB at the meeting." She found a man in the shadows, David Brina, a former Black Ops soldier and Everett's friend. "He trusted you," Brina said, handing her a flash drive. "Everything's on. Here, shipment records, emails, names. Your brother didn't die for nothing." Isa's grip tightened around the drive as the pieces finally began to come together. Isla clenched her fists. "I'll get this to the president." Brina grabbed her arm. "You trust him?" She hesitated. "I don't know yet." By morning, she slipped the flash drive to Trump's security team with a simple note, "For his eyes only." Hours later, she was summoned again. Trump looked worn but focused. "This changes everything," he said. "If what's on here checks out, Kane's going down." Isa nodded, but cautioned, "We need to move carefully. Publicly, He's still a partner. If he suspects anything, he'll vanish. Trump tapped the table. I'm assembling an independent investigative team. No military ties, no leaks, and you, Commander Vance, are part of it. You're my eyes on this ship. Isa straightened. Then I'm in, sir. He looked at her seriously. And Isa, when this is over, your brother's name will be cleared. Later, at a formal ceremony on deck, Bro and Kane arrived beaming, shaking hands and playing the part, but his presence made Isa's stomach tighten. Commander Vance, he said with mock warmth. I've heard great things. She nodded. Coolly, from the sidelines, Trump watched. Unreadable moments later, Isa saw him hand Kane a sealed folder. Kane's eyes scanned the contents and, his face drained of color. Still, he forced a grin and leaned in. You'll regret this. Trump didn't flinch. No, you will. That night, Kane attempted to flee the ship on a private boat, but military police stopped him mid-launch. Trump had already alerted the DOJ as Isa watched Kane taken into custody. Her expression remained still, but her hands trembled slightly. Trump approached her quietly. You were right. He would have gotten away. Isa exhaled, the weight finally lifting. Then, maybe now, Everett can rest. Trump gave a solemn nod. I hope so. The next morning, at the flag ceremony, President Trump walked the deck again, but this time, when he passed Commander Vance, she saluted. And this time, he saluted back. When President Trump approached Isa, he paused, then slowly raised his hand in a solemn salute. For a moment, she stood motionless, then lifted her own hand in return, a steady, silent gesture of mutual respect. No cameras flashed, no words were spoken. The deck was still once more, not from tension, but from honor. In the days following, Bro and Kane's arrest, whispers of the scandal rippled through bases and Pentagon halls. Some cheered. Others scrambled, but aboard the USS Valor, there was a rare and fleeting peace. That evening, Isa stood at the stern watching the waves curl and crash when Ensign Jordan Tate approached quietly. Commander, about what happened, about your brother. Isa gave a faint smile. He was the quiet one, always followed me around, wanted to be a Navy pilot just like me. Jordan nodded. Why didn't you ever tell anyone about the letter? She looked out toward the endless horizon. I didn't know who to trust, and I wasn't sure anyone would believe me. Jordan's voice dropped. But the president did. Isa nodded slowly. Maybe that's the lesson. Even the most powerful people need to be reminded what truth looks like. Later, in her quarters, Isa opened a hidden drawer, filled with messages she'd written to Everett over the years but never sent. Birthday wishes, holidays he missed, quiet moments she wished he could have seen. That night, she added a new one. Everett, justice finally knocked. Brown's gone. The president listened. You weren't a ghost in the system. You were the fire. That lit it. She sealed the letter and whispered, you weren't forgotten, little brother. And for the first time in years, she felt like he heard her. Days later, as President Trump prepared to depart the ship, he stopped beside Isa, reached into his coat, and pressed a small bronze medal into her hand. Posthumous award for Everett Vance, he said quietly. The country owes him more than words. Isa stared down at the medal, her lips trembling, the weight of it both heavy and healing. Trump spoke softly. I've ordered his mission report declassified. His name will be cleared. This time, Isa saluted without hesitation, and Trump returned it with quiet respect. You honored your brother, he said. Now the nation will too. A month later, at Arlington National Cemetery, Isa stood before the Navy Memorial Wall, where a fresh engraving now read, Lieutenant Everett Vance fallen in pursuit of truth. She placed the bronze medal at its base and stood in silence. Strangers passing by paused, some bowing their heads, others offering salutes. Everett's story had become part of something larger, a legacy no longer buried. Word of Isa's defiant moment spread, and soon a major journalist reached out, requesting an exclusive. The public deserves to know, she said over the phone, but Isa declined. This isn't about me, she replied. It's about protecting those still out there. Tell the story, just protect the names that matter. The journalist agreed, and the article went viral. The officer who refused to salute, and why. Her silence had spoken louder than words. In the Oval Office, Trump read the piece again. Everett's letter, now resting in his top drawer. One evening, Melania found him standing at the window, quiet. You're deep in thought, she said. He nodded. Some truths weigh heavier than others. She touched his shoulder. But you did the right thing. He looked at her and whispered, that officer reminded me, real power is earned with honesty. Months later, Isa, now Captain Vance, stepped onto the deck of a new Navy vessel for her first deployment under her new title. The sea stretched wide before her, the wind at her back, and Everett's memory etched not just in stone, but in purpose. The USS Everett, yes, the Navy had named a newly commissioned ship in her brother's honor, now sailed proudly. Across open waters, sailors stood straighter when she passed, not because of her rank, but because of what she represented, living proof that grief, loyalty, and courage could exist in the same uniform. Outside her office, Ensign Jordan Tate waited. "Permission to speak, Captain?" he asked. "Granted," Isa replied with a warm smile. "I've decided to become an intelligence officer," he said. She raised an eyebrow. "Why the switch?" Jordan straightened. "Because I want to make sure what happened to Everett never happens again." Isa stood and extended her hand. "Then make it count, Jordan." He shook it firmly. "You already did, ma'am. At a Memorial Day ceremony aboard the Everett, President Trump gave a heartfelt address. Near the end, he turned toward Isa, now Captain Vance, and motioned her forward. Speaking into the microphone, he said, "There was a time she refused my salute, and I'm glad she did. Because in that silence, she revealed a darkness we needed to face, and helped this nation find light again." He turned to her and saluted. This time, she returned it, and the entire deck followed, hundreds of hands raised in unity. Applause erupted. Some wept, others stood in reverent silence. Later that night, back in her quarters, Isa opened one final letter. "Dear Everett," she wrote, "you once said truth was worth dying for. Today, it saved lives. Your ship sails, your name echoes across the seas, and me, I salute you now forever. Love, E." She folded it carefully and placed it inside a wooden box, beside his medal. As the ship cut through open water and the wind brushed her face, Captain Isla Vance stood tall, heart full, soul quiet, knowing that sometimes one act of silent defiance can echo louder than 1,000 words.